I'd like to start with a question. Are you afraid of snakes? And if so, why? Ever since I can remember, I've been fascinated by snakes. From the way that they move, to the way that they kill and eat, to the way that they see the world around us. Now, I'm not saying that being afraid of snakes is a problem. In fact, fear can be a very positive thing, and it can help keep you safe or determine your personal boundaries. Snakes have a very important role in our ecosystem, especially here in Bali. They're a predator, but more importantly, they're an apex predator. This means that they're at the top of the food chain. Without them, our ecosystem would fall into chaos and disorder. Think of it like having a house without a roof. Without a roof, your house is exposed to rain, sun, wind, debris, dust, and decay. Originally, I wanted my Greenstone to only revolve around my personal gain, my improvement of snake handling, and my knowledge of snakes in general. But as I thought more about this, I decided I'd like to protect the snakes. They're dying and people are killing them and we're losing snakes, and I'd like to do something about it. But I'd also like to give the audience something that they can work with and something to keep them safe, especially here in Bali. When thinking of someone who could mentor me throughout this process and throughout the year, Ron Lilly popped into my mind. He was the perfect fit. Ron Lilly is the Bali's snake guy, or he's part of something called the Bali Snake Patrol. Essentially what he does is that he goes to people's houses and he removes snakes that aren't wanted there. So I told him about my project, what I wanted to do, and ultimately he told me he had already tried, and it didn't really work out the way he expected. Luckily, he did have somebody who did know a little bit more about the way to talk to the local community about things. It's a very kind Balinese man named Agus. Agus has published a book in Balinese, Indonesian, and English, which means anybody can understand it. So, I would print some books out, and I would give them to people around me, like my landlord, my pembantu, my very kind friend who's in the herpetology industry here in Bali, and farmers. Farmers kill the most snakes every year. This is sad to hear, but it's a truth. I met with a farmer in the Umalambing rice fields in Sibang Kaja, very close to Green School. His name was Pak Denny. Luckily, Pak Denny understood the very important symbiotic relationship between humans and snakes here on Bali. But something that captivated him very much and that he found was very interesting was this. During a snake's lifetime, it will eat around 1,000 to 1,500 rats or mice, or small animals in general. Now, if you kill that snake, those 1,000 to 1,500 small animals have the potential to destroy all the crops and wreak havoc. This is what we're seeing. These farmers are killing a snake, and over time their crop are failing and they're losing profit. So what they decide to do is to sell their land or give the rights to a hotel to build a hotel, or even build their own villa. That environment, that rice field, was prime snake habitat and was the perfect environment for them to thrive. But now it's gone. So the snake decides to move on to the next rice field over, but at that next rice field, the farmer there doesn't like snakes either, so he kills them. This is the sad truth of our snake killing cycle and our crop failure cycle. And ultimately, it's losing a lot of the rice fields that we know and love here in Bali. Let me take you back to the first time that I saw a snake here on Bali. I was in 8th grade and I was doing homework, and faintly I hear somebody yelling, "Cobra! Cobra!" So, my heart racing, I run outside, but as I got closer and realized what was happening, my heart sank. and I started feeling sad more than anything else. These Balinese men that I knew quite well were killing a snake, a king cobra. They were throwing cinder blocks on its head and jabbing it with bamboo poles. I thought to myself, how could somebody do this without knowing such importance? There must be another solution. And there is, but I didn't think about it until my Greenstone brainstorming day arrived. So what is the solution? And what can I do and what have I been doing? Well, 2 times a month I go to Ron Lily's house. I practice my snake handling skills, and I also do basic chores like emptying out aquariums, cleaning them, feeding the snakes he has. But I also talk to people in the local community, like I already named. My landlord, my Pumbantu, people I knew, the farmer. Unfortunately, because of COVID-19, I wasn't able to continue this endeavor, and I wasn't able to complete it. But something that's more important about actually working in the field is understand why you're doing it, and understand what the purpose of it is. Let me tell you a little bit about the psychology behind Ophidiophobia, the fear of snakes. Ophidio meaning snake in Greek and Latin, and phobia meaning fear in Greek and Latin. Some people believe that it's an innate fear, that you're born with it, and no matter what, you have it. But science proves, and I will now tell you, why it's not. It is completely acquired. Let's pretend that a mother and her child are walking along a path here in Bali. The child is around 1 year old, and it's in its prime developing stages of its brain. Its brain is like a sponge, essentially, for information. And while this woman is walking, she comes upon a snake, and she recoils and tenses up in fear. The child, seeing this, now appropriates snakes with fear. But it's not only this. It's a lot also about how the media portrays snakes as bloodthirsty killing machines, which they are not. You may be wondering, well, if this is the case, then why am I not afraid of snakes? Why do I go out of my way to find them and to do things interacting with them? I grew up in a very free household, a household that gave me a lot of freedom in doing a lot of things that other kids usually don't. For example, when we would go hiking or mountain biking or camping, whatever outdoor excursion it may be, I was constantly running around the woods looking for insects, salamanders, toads, and snakes. That's when I first really fell in love with them. This answers why I may not be afraid of them, but doesn't really answer why I go out of my way to find them and to interact with them. As I said at the beginning, and as I say again, and I'll never stop saying, I love snakes. I'm fascinated with them. They're incredible creatures, and there's so much we still don't know about them that we need to learn. And the way that especially their brain works. They rely completely on instinct. Fun fact, snakes are one of the largest living land creatures on planet Earth, and they don't have any legs. If that's not strange, then I don't know what is. At the beginning of the year, coming into this project, I was a complete amateur. I didn't know what I was doing. I had no idea. But when I met Ron, and when he helped me and guided me through this process, I learned so much. And here's something that I'd like to teach you as people who live in Bali or live anywhere. You're able to make sure that you're staying safe and that you can snake-proof your house. The first principle of the 5 of snake-proofing is plants. To trim back any plants that connect to your roof, to your window, to your house, anywhere. Otherwise, you run the risk of having a snake climb into your attic and staying there for a month, eating rats, living the life it should, but then you come across it, and that's when you don't know what to do with it. Not just trimming back plants that grow to your house, but also trimming bushes and ferns that overgrow paths in your driveway or your garden, so that you have a clear line of sight of where you're walking. The second is food. Let's say you leave a box of cereal or a bag of rice out on your counter at night. You're essentially inviting rats and mice to come and eat your food. As we know, where there are rats, there are snakes. That is their main diet. The third is flashlight. It's really important to always keep a flashlight with you at all times during the night, especially when you're walking in places where there's a lot of grass or places that aren't cities. You run the risk of stepping on a snake and getting bit. Now, the fourth is risky and can completely be optional to you. It's having a cat or a dog. Cats and dogs are very important because they can drive away snakes, drive away rats and mice, but they can also bring them in. And I've had at multiple occasions my cats bring in snakes. Now, for somebody who wouldn't be able to get rid of it like I can and doesn't have the skills I have, this can be a problem. The fifth and the last is loud footsteps. Snakes don't have any ears, and they have a limited sight. So they can't see well and they can't hear a single thing. But they have muscles on their stomach that feel vibrations through the ground. A little bit like a bat can hear the vibrations of air reverberating off walls. So the louder you step and the louder you stomp, it's like yelling to them basically, and they'll get out of your way. I hope you can take something away from this, and I hope that you've learnt about something and that you can apply this in your everyday life. I know I have, and it's been an absolute blast the entire year. I've seen so much, I've done so much, I've met new people, but no matter how much I learn and how much I do, there's always more to learn, and I don't want to stop being the student. Thank you.